today's an interesting one because we're going to be talking about what I think is going to be revolutionize what we know as rotor wing helicopters, and I think it's quite exciting. So we'll see where this goes. But we were at the HAI show, and of course you and I came across this beautiful thing that was in the warehouse. And I know that when we show the video, which we will, of you and I first seeing the HX50, I expected, and you and I spoke about it before we got there, I expected a lot more smoke and mirrors. Okay? So if you look at all the other stands, there was a lot of hoo-ha, a lot of stuff, lights and smoke and mirrors, as I said. Then we get to this area where there is just a helicopter. No fanfare.
No banners, nothing.
No banners.
Yeah,
no
on a budget.
No dancing people, no coffee machines, no bar.
No bar.
But there's just a helicopter. Now, the thing about that is all there really needed to be.
Yes.
Because when you saw the HX50 there, that is what was on show. So for me, just seeing the helicopter was good enough. So, Andre, welcome to our second podcast and one of hopefully of many. I know we've planned out the next couple, but I think today's is one of our exciting ones. The opportunity then to formally introduce, we say your name Blue,
Yeah,
but it's spelt
BLEU.
and what
French way.
Is that French? Okay,
Yeah.
French.
Yeah.
And it's Bagley.
Bagley is the surname. Yeah,
Bagley is the surname.
From Yorkshire, according to family tree, I think it was.
You spend most of your time, I know you travel a lot, but you're down in KZN at the moment, which was your original home area.
Yeah, Umsloti's been home to the family for, sure, I don't know, 60, 70 years.
Okay.
Me personally since day 3. So obviously wandered a bit further down to Cape Town to study and everything else, but
Okay.
always
And
returned there.
you spend time at Seychelles?
Yeah, Seychelles is second home. I think I don't know what the word home is anymore. Someone asked me the other day. I think with technology and, Instagram and WhatsApp and FaceTime and Zoom calling, whether you're sitting next to someone on a couch or
Screen time.
got a Starlink and you stuck in the middle of the Delta or wherever taking a Zoom call, it's a global village is what I call it.
I think you, if I'm not mistaken, Andre sent me a picture of you on one of the super yachts coming in a 407, landing at Starlight.
That was the 429.
Yeah,
429.
429.
Yeah. That's a good friend of mine from school heads up that boat. You can check it out. It's called Cloudbreak.
Beautiful.
And yeah, they're just adventurous. They got the 429 on the back. They do surfing, snowboarding, wakeboarding. If you got €1 million a week, I can get you on there.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the Hills helicopter so nice, because it actually looks like it belongs on a yacht, for one thing. So I can see the attraction. So let's get on to the Hills helicopter.
Yeah.
So from my notes that I made, I believe you are sitting at number 10 on the list of buyers of the Hills.
Yeah. It's just a casino table, right?
It is. It is.
No, it's so the thing I've learned in the last sort of 3 years of dabbling in the VC world, per se, if you want to call it, or real life gambling, is I find a lot of people invest in things because of the product. And any business, good or bad, and or product, if you don't have the right people at the helm, that's going to have a wobble. You know, you've got to grow with a business, you've got to grow with cash flow, you've got to do all of these things. And in order to do that, you need the right brains behind it. So I've tried to define a simple philosophy of people, product, price. And when I've obviously been associated to the helicopter industry since a young age, and I just felt that you know, seeing the ownership models of other aircraft and being an owner of other aircraft, you know, you got to give respect where it's due. We wouldn't be here unless it was for Robinson, you know.
Yes, 100%.
And at the time, at the place, and everything, you've got to give them credit, you know, and it's due then. But as with time and the only thing constant in life is change, there has to be some change in the industry. You know, you've got Tesla cars, you've got iPhone 15s, you've got all the tech is out there, just no one's drawing it into one place. And it's pretty scary. The prices of aircraft at the moment is just, you know,
yes,
I don't know, it's crazy. And the market's gasping for a second alternative, you know. And I just thought the timing was right from my side. You know, I spoke to my dad. I was like, what do you think? He's like, your call. You've been in aviation. You know, you at the age where you've got the gut feel for it. And then I signed up for the Zoom call with Ruben and Mishka. It was still either first or second Zoom call, if I'm not mistaken, with Jace. And then I thought about it for a day or two. And I was like, you know what? I can lie in bed and order a pizza literally to my door through an app. You can do anything on your phone, but then you're still flying a 44 that's got VNE or it's got this or that, or, you know, and nothing was designed specifically for a private owner looking for adventure. So the people, Jace is a phenomenal human being, superhuman, you know, and someone's got to step up to the plate and do it. So from the people perspective, I was like, this is the man. It's a privately owned company. There's no corporate clause involved in it. He has to make it work. This is a lifelong dream. Product ticked all the boxes, and there's nothing new about it. As he famously quotes, it's the greatest hits. So it's just plucking the best and the advantages and disadvantages of a single engine helicopter, and answering to the customer's needs. Jace flies himself. He is a Robinson owner himself.
Yes, he is.
So he's seeing it from all angles, from an engineering, from an ownership angle, from a cost perspective, from a business model perspective. And I just felt the timing was right. And, you know, you got to roll the dice every now and then. And, did the Zoom call and signed away the non-refundable deposits, and
that's it.
It's been a journey since.
I think the one thing about watching the videos on the Hill's success story up to this point, and I mean, we know that there's 1,300 helicopters on order. We know that the helicopter hasn't flown and it's going through different things. And we know now that PC1, which is their new factory setup, is in progress. And we know that 2024 is going to be the interesting period.
Yeah.
The design of the engine is an in-house project, engineered in-house, which is great, and that's around costs. But I think the one thing that I noticed with Jason is he's a great communicator. I mean, everything's out there.
Unbelievable.
The communication is out there. It's personal. He takes all the questions. And so the one skepticism that I had is, you know, what is this project going to look like down the line? But I think everything is out there. You can go on YouTube and you can listen. You don't have to be an investor, but you can listen to the owner of the business talk about his project.
Yeah.
And so that's impressive.
It shows a lot of passion, you know. It could be easy for Jace to put a bunch of people between him and the customer or him and the product. Like, you know, he had all the stress of HAI stuff and the one machine with the whole transport side, and he was there. I mean, I stayed with him and the Hill, a couple of the Hill guys. And, you know, he's always got a smile on his face. He knows he's climbing a mountain. His wife, Izzy, is super supportive, being a dad, family man, tackling this beast that he's busy with, and doing everything. So, it's again, you've got to give credit where it's due to Robinson. You've got to give credit where it's due to Hill. And I think the future of the company, I've never seen a company go from being launched in the midst of COVID through Zoom, presentation after presentation, Jace being there. If I can send him a WhatsApp at 2 a.m, he'll reply the next day. If I say, hey, Jace, there's a customer in South Africa that would like to chat to you, he might be busy, but he'll find time, And I think they've created such a tight-knit community. And I think that community people are slowly seeing as getting priceless.
Yes.
Whereas I think other manufacturers hold the customer at arm's length, maybe because they're more in the commercial world. I understand you can't run around and knock on every customer's door and you've only got 2 arms and 2 legs. But I think the way they've approached it by the community side of it is it's bulletproof. And you can't create that overnight.
Now, Andre, I just want to ask you a question because I know we walked through around the helicopter, we looked at it, and of course we were kissing it. But the one thing that I was impressed with, and I said it to you when we were talking about it, I said, and I hadn't looked at the Hills video at the time, especially one that Jason was talking about, and I said, why is it that we've got Tesla and BMW and Mercedes-Benz and all these vehicles that have got these trims and these finishes, but in helicopters we haven't advanced especially in this category of the sort of R44, R66 range. We haven't advanced to the finishing and the touch that the Hills helicopter's got. And I made that comment because this helicopter comes with all of that.
And more. Yeah.
And more. And I sort of made the comment, I said, this looks like that new era. And I know in my own businesses, I found that when you get stagnant in your business, a newcomer comes along. Today with computer technology and AI and whatever, you can accelerate your
excessively
design. Yes, you can do it. You can do what people couldn't do. So if you're stuck in that rut of the last 30 years and you just move along, you're going to get overtaken, and it's going to happen quickly. And I think Robinson, the changes we see in management, is probably a reaction to what's going on here. So, what did you think about, I made those comments, but when you looked at it, you saw this massive leap that has been taken. Andre.
Clint, I cannot tell you, I am speechless.
I'm speechless. One of the things that was the setup to the HX50, the Hills. Now, we only got a minute because we got to do these videos, unfortunately, on WhatsApp, it's difficult to go through. But the one thing about the HX50 that we were all waiting for was, what does it look like? Does it reach? I know it's not in production, but it is absolutely spectacular.
It is.
And just the lines, the interior, the design, it looks like, it looks like what Tesla was trying to do in cars, they've done in helicopters. And I know they got 1,000 orders, but it is spectacular.
Yeah, we just
listening to owners of different aircraft, not only Robinson, and putting those into play into that aircraft made a huge difference.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that I've noticed as well is that we're not, there's a place for these Robinson helicopters in cattle ranching and, in game capture and stuff like it. And let's make clear that this helicopter is not made for that kind of stuff. I don't think it's entering that market. It's, there's going to be a space for everything. The owners of this helicopter, and I spoke to a woman at the stand at the time from the States. I can't remember what her details were. Her husband, I think they're from Texas. He was elated. I think they were number 70. I can't remember the number. I don't want to be clear because all the people. And she was just elated that they were on this number.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, they could probably afford to buy Hills. And her husband was, almost licking the machine, and she was sitting there and she was just so happy to be part of this whole community.
Yeah.
And she was explaining to me how the interaction works and how they've become part of this family. So I think that to me is the essence of what Hill's about. It's not so much that it's this investment or whatever. It's a community, and whether it came to fruition or not wasn't the issue.
Yeah.
It was this journey that these people were on.
Yeah, 100%.
And so that to me is great. I think coming back to the communication from Jason, what I do see is this detailed communication about parts, about the engine, about the details of that engine being manufactured.
The way he explains things is like phenomenal. Like he can, if you watch, I don't know which episode it is, but there's one on YouTube or from one of the monthly AMAs where he unpacks the engine.
I saw that.
And even like, I mean, we've all been through PPL, CPL, and all of that. Like PPL, especially, like you get overwhelmed. Like a 45-minute briefing on like autos or something, you've got in the aircraft and your head's like, I don't know what's going on, because you just get overloaded. But the way, what I've learned of the many things from growing in this journey is how Jason portrays information in a very logical, clear, insightful way. That's not, he could over confuse it and throw numbers and everything, but his one of his many talents being his superhuman, so I call him, is his logical, methodical way of doing things. And I think for wherever the aircraft ends up, it's everything he's doing as minimalistic as possible. And that is the most hardest and expensive thing to achieve. It's very easy, especially in engineering, not that I'm an engineer, but it's easy to overcomplicate life.
Yes.
To tone it down and get it simple and have one car, one dog, one this, it's pretty hard, But yeah, I cannot fault them. Ruben and Mishka, hats off to them, for the sales side of things. Again, people, product, price.
Talk about Mishka now, because I know on the side here, I've got Mishka walking around, and I think we can show the video of Mishka actually going around the aircraft at HAI. Just talk about Mishka. What's his background? I know he's on YouTube a lot. Just give him a punch here.
Yeah, so
Pilot Yellow.
Yeah, Pilot Yellow. So when I did the first or second Zoom presentation, I'd signed up, and then Mishka popped up. I was like, hey, I know that guy from somewhere. And then, yeah, I interact quite a bit with him.
He's from Canada, is it?
From Canada, yeah. I haven't been up there. I've got a lot of friends in Canada saying, come up, come up, come up. They started their heli school up there. And yeah, he's got a load of experience, and he's a really nice guy, super knowledgeable on the training side of things. Him and Ruben did the epic flights in the 66, the around the world. They got a really cool book. Next time I go overseas or whatever, I'll bring some back if you guys would like. And yeah, so that's I don't comment too much because I don't know the ins and outs of exactly Mishka's life and everything, but he's a family man, dad man, interacts with a lot of his subscribers on YouTube quite a bit, and we've got some pretty cool and exciting stuff lined up. Him and Ruben and I think Kat will be in the other aircraft, the first three that are going to do around the world. And that will be an interesting journey watching them. They're going to put the aircraft through their paces, hot, cold, long distance flying.
Okay, so Louis, one of the things we were talking about was the cost of running a helicopter, and I think the concern around things like the Robertson helicopter is this having to replace blades and having to rebuild at certain hours. What's the situation with Heels as you know it? I mean, I'm not holding you to it, but what's the discussion around that?
So the whole discussion and the whole drive and vision of Hill is to general aviation 2.0. And how much does it cost is the famous question when it comes to helicopters. And when people from the outside world slowly start getting exposed to this and dipping their feet in the water per se, it's they start running for the hills, pardon the pun. But yeah, it's their price point currently is, if I'm not mistaken, £595,000. The deposit I want to say is around 30,000 for the experimentals and 50,000 for the certified. And then your you pay deposits. Then 1 year before your build date is another second payment, and then 3 months before your build date is a third payment. Hourly costs that have sort of been put on the table and in the YouTube, aiming at around $350 to $380 an hour for the experimental. Obviously fuel and all of those other costs are entangled in that. But again, the whole point of the hill is it's for the private individual that flies there 50, maybe 100 hours a year. And yeah, that's sort of what they're basing it off. There is a whole AMA or YouTube video discussing it. And if anyone has questions, you can hop on the monthly AMA and ask Jason, ask Ruben, ask Mishka. But yeah, the whole point is to keep people in the air, not get people out of the air. So I think their model and strategy from that point of view is extremely appealing. Obviously, it will be a fast machine as well, if I'm not mistaken. What are they stipulating there?
140 knots.
140 knots.
And let me tell you, the interesting thing is not so much the speed, but the range is very interesting and the way they configured the fuel tanks.
Yeah. So
that's what interests me, the range.
Yeah. Again, talking to customers, talking to listening to the market, looking at the market. As we know, being heli pilots, every kilo counts. Again, don't quote my figures, but I think if you two up and doing some long distance flying, you'll push about 6 hours.
Yeah.
Out of the aircraft. I don't think your bladder will last that long. But
the other point that I wanted to raise is the fuel. So I see on the engine and the turbine, you're going to look at some eco fuel.
MoGas.
Yeah. So there's a really cool individual, ex-sapper actually.
Yes, I've heard.
In the hundreds club. He's a super guy. He's heavily invested and passionate about his fuel system that he's working with, or fuel that they're developing, that's hopefully once that's certified and I'm assuming they'll do quite a bit of engine testing with the fuel. There has to be some form of sustainability going forward. I know there's greenwashing and everything going on in the world, but I think for us burning, if we just add up in our logbooks how much fuel we've each burnt, and everyone listening to the podcast, I think it will be quite a sobering reality slap. So yeah,
but I think talking about, is this the same guy that we were looking for with our friend from Texas?
That's right. Yeah.
And we couldn't find him because he couldn't get his technology to work. He said he was next to us, but he wasn't next to us. He was coming in the door, but he wasn't coming in the door. Yeah. So he's that guy.
Oh, okay. He wanted to introduce us to.
We actually didn't get to meet him, but I think he's from Cape Town.
Yeah. He's an ex-Durbanite actually.
Oh, okay.
Really, really nice guy. I can put you guys in touch with him. I'm sure he'd be keen to
I'd love to talk to him. Quite a clever guy. This is Joseph's friend, I think.
And the other nice thing is on the display on the hill, it will have exactly how much fuel you have left at your current speed and heading and wind and everything, how much longer you've got left in the air. So you're not sitting there with your CX2 or your iPhone trying to do some distance speed time calculation.
That amazed me about the video, watching it, is the user-friendly fuel consumption distance. I mean, it was almost like looking at a vehicle dashboard and I even saw the fuel was like a fuel that you would see on the dashboard of a car.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't all these calculations and having to worry about those kind of things. It was full, halfway empty. You knew where you were.
Yeah.
I mean, I almost wonder why things are made so complicated in flying. And I think Jason makes a point, let's make it simple and let's build a proper helicopter. He uses the word proper helicopter a number of times. But let's have a simple dial, electronic dial that tells you have fuel or not.
Yeah.
This thing where there's a lot of guesswork that goes on, and then when a empty light comes on, panic, and it's happened to us a few times. And then get down, land. If you can take all of that out and just have the simplicity and then fly and enjoy. And I think it has become complicated. And I think this is where this makes the big difference.
I think we're talking about some details on the helicopter. One interesting thing that I saw, and I mean, a lot of people can actually look it up, is they've now coming out with their in-cockpit camera.
Yeah, they, if I'm not mistaken, there's going to be around 6 or 8
Yes.
cameras
Wow.
in the aircraft. You know, a big drive is the insurance side. You know, that's a whole other conversation.
Yes, I saw that, yeah.
And there's a lot of data that the machine is going to produce, you know, and will be working very closely with engineers and, you know, getting you to sync your aircraft after every flight because they need all this data. So touch wood, you know, if there's a hiccup or something goes wrong, you've got as much flight data, in-camera data, and also coming into land, you have all those sorts of things, you know. You can buy a little wireless camera off an online store for under R1,000, and plug it in and be sitting in the North Pole with the Starlink and watching your cat or your dog in your lounge. You know, why don't these aircraft have these sorts of things?
It does amaze me because Robinson, I know, 66 now, comes with the onboard camera, and it's like a big thing. But I mean, we've had cameras
for many years
available,
recording ourselves.
I mean, we can send people into space and all these kind of things, and yet Hills has come out with cameras that can record everything, send your data, manage things, and I think that to me is
valuable. Yeah.
It's not a big step forward. It's the right step forward. It's been there. We're just incorporating it now into the digital era. Yeah. I think that safety is a big thing, and so I think this gathering of data from engine performance to pilot management and whatever is going to be critical in this thing going forward. I mean, someone asked in one of the Robinson workshops, was asking about how this camera helps with managing if there's a crash or whatever, managing what went wrong. And I mean, it's quite obvious that if you've got 6 cameras and you're managing data and engine data and all these things, you're able to manage so much more on an aircraft. And that technology it's there, it's available. I saw even on the Hills, there's a place to park your cell phone and charge it.
Yeah.
I mean, these are logical things. It's obviously come through owners. I see also that the iPad fits into the center console. Yeah. So they haven't gone and reinvented the wheel. They said, right, the iPad is it works, and they've
incorporated technology. They haven't fought it.
100%. Yeah, very, very nice to see. So where it's the best in the trade, they've gone for that.
Yeah, and again, this is all out there.
Yes.
You know, like I think, you know, we don't, as humans, educated or not, you don't actually realize how much, as long as you have an internet connection and a screen of form and a pen and paper, like there's not nothing, but you can learn a hell of a lot, you know, and you can glean a lot of information. But I just think, you know, everything they're doing and all the touch points they're trying to do, it's keep it simple, stupid, refine the product, let the data do it. And again, going back to the discussion earlier of like, how much is it an hour? You know, what are slots going to be selling for? What are people going to be paying to move forward in the queue? Now you have the option of, when you purchase an aircraft, you can get an entire data download of that. You can see every part that's been in and out of it. You can see if it's been dinged or if this has happened or that's happened. So from a resale point of view, you know, it's extremely comforting, A, as a first-time aircraft buyer, and B, even as a third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh aircraft owner, you're going to be like, wow, this is, if you've had your fingers burnt on something previously that you've missed out on a pre-buy or whatever it may be in the school fees, you know, now this eliminates, and it's literally like, chat to the engineer, I'm looking at buying this aircraft, can you pull me up the data, give me a status report, what's the engine doing? And I think that, again, going back to the certification question, I understand there's many people in the industry that have seen certifications take ages and ages and ages, but, you know, data is diamonds, you know.
Yeah, data doesn't lie. Yeah.
And it's real life. It's not sinking the aircraft every every MPI or every whatever it is. And the other cool thing with the wheeled version is the wheels have the little electric motors in them.
Oh, you can control it remotely
through your phone. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you refuel, you know what it's like. Friday afternoon, you're going to fly
There's
early.
nobody to help.
Saturday, there's nobody to help. You're going to leave your aircraft outside in the salt air all night. Now you can literally land, fold your blades back, or leave them out, and you can top it up with a lot of juice, and you can quite easy. It will be a pleasure to go down to your aircraft and pre-flight, basically.
Yeah. I make a joke now, but Hills have come up with so many things. It would be nice if there was a little fridge in there. Oh, hang on, there is.
There is a little fridge in there. There will be a. So, Blue, a question that everyone's got is, if I was to buy an HX50 and I wanted to convert from a Robinson or from a Bell helicopter, what have you got to do from a Hills point of view, understanding that it's an experimental aircraft?
Yeah. So being building under the experimental category, you have to build 51% of the aircraft. So how it will work is obviously you'll get notified when your slot's coming up and your dates and all of that. You'll go to the factory for 2 weeks. And in that 2 weeks will be school, obviously, and then assembling the aircraft or assembling parts of it in a controlled environment. And then you will do a flight test or familiarization flights with their examiners at the school. And then I would assume that they will have flight examiners worldwide in different regions that will be factory approved or certified trained. And all of this is in the process of keeping insurance affordable, and they're going to do some really cool stuff with VR goggles for engineers looking at aircraft, problem solving. And then there was word on the group that you'll have to do a couple hours on your computer before you arrive. And I think that will just be spatial orientation in the cockpit, how does the puck work properly? How does this work? How does that work? Just so when you arrive for your school, you've at least got some orientation when you sit in the aircraft, or chatting about whatever. I think the biggest thing with it is, I don't want to say changing the old school mindset. Like, we all very used to swiping on iPhones and iPads and scrolling through social media and stuff. So I think the user interface will be not anything new to learn, but maybe it would probably just be learning your way around it. So,
identifying.
Yeah, just muscle memory. If you're flying in straight and level and you change a frequency or what, it's like, typing on your phone while looking at someone, you kind of have your keyboard imprinted in your head, So that will be the process. There are quite a few aircraft that are in syndicates or syndicately owned. But with the sale of every aircraft, you get a pilot and an engineer's course attached to it. I'm assuming if you have more than one aircraft and you don't use it, I'm sure there'll be a way of transferring it over. But yeah, I think going back to the flight examiners and who they'll be and stuff, given how exciting the project is, I think there'll be a lot of people putting their hands up and wanting to participate. And that's what I've seen through the engineering side. The first, 6 months to a year, I think Hill was still on their high-risk envelope, if you want to call it, headhunting a lot of staff. Now that the program's rolling, every milestone that gets hit, every day that goes past, it's lessens someone else's risk appetite. So yeah, 2024 is going to be a good and big year, and it will also be exciting to have both younger and older examiners doing ratings and conversions, and just getting everyone's mind on the same sort of plane from a technology point of view. And I think the big thing is it's not too daunting. to someone.
I think it's going to be more about flying the aircraft and getting used
Enjoying
to
it, yeah.
enjoying it.
I think with all the parameters involved, the aircraft will learn you as a pilot, and you will learn it. As your
Yes.
cruise speeds, you start figuring them out, your power settings, your optimum. Like, as you know, you can
Your
have 10
configuration.
44s, and each one of them's got a different personality. I think the big thing is each pilot will have a profile,
Yeah.
like a login profile, like you do on a
Yes,
desktop,
I saw
family
that, yeah.
desktop, where everyone's got their own, and all that profiling and everything will all link back to insurance, back to safety courses, back to. So there's, I think everything in this day and age is about reviews and ratings.
Very personal
Yeah.
on how you rated and how you insured and what the cost of that is.
Yeah, and I think they'll
Hard landings, you pay more.
Yeah, and I think a big thing in the insurance world is they have power by the hour on every engine that manufacturers are trying to rope you into, and I just think in aircraft insurance has just gone through the rafters,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, every claim that comes through, the premiums just go up because everyone's going to fund that, and I think when you have a manufacturer, parts brokers, AMOs, AMO broker, like every single level has a time factor to it, B, a financial factor to it, and I also think C, it's like it's just too confusing. Whereas with Hill, their whole motto is they want to get you back in the air. So I again, don't quote me. I don't think the insurance model will be based around paying you out. It will be more based around replacing parts from the manufacturer into your aircraft, and obviously with the electronic logbooks and flight books and everything, if something splinters or if something breaks, they need to know why. Is it because you're flying the aircraft too hard? Is it a salt environment? Is it density, altitude, pressure, altitude? Like, why is this aircraft picking up this at 300 hours? Why is this aircraft only picking up this at 1,300 hours? So I think a lot of this data analytics will path the course for Hill, and obviously, with their engine, they want to try certify it up to 5,000 hours.
Which is a big step.
Which is a big step, but it will all be increments. I think it will probably be, I mean, speaking like I'm an engineer here, sorry, Jace. I think it will be, they'll probably certify for 1,500, see how it goes, get to a milestone,
And then
a little bit more. And in this process, build trust with the customer base, build trust with the product, build trust with the CAs and FAAs of the world. And also, I think the mindset, like I was listening to the Robinson podcast. I think you sent it to me yesterday or the day before with the new. It was today. Sorry.
yes.
Shows my head's on my shoulders. Thank you. And like they were saying in there, the biggest thing with certification is all the certification bodies are overwhelmed. Because it's drones, it's eVTOL, it's battery people trying to get things certified. It's this, it's that. So I think they are extremely overwhelmed. And I also think that it's dealing with people that have been in the industry for 30, 40 years who, in their eyes, a jet ranger is the only thing that exists. Or, when it's something new, and I'm probably going to keep one or two aircraft on an NREG in the meantime because I need to work with the CAA. I need to basically bring people up to Hill's mindset, and out of the old school mindset and brackets of 40 or 50 years of stagnation.
And I see they are engaging the insurance industry directly. So there's a lot of engagement with the insurance industry as a direct on behalf of the owners.
Yeah, 100%. But again, the insurance industry, the finance industry, all of these, there is in the last 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years was going through a massive pivotal change. We're going through the biggest transformation of wealth. COVID times was the biggest transformation of wealth in the history of finance. And I think a lot of these companies, whether it's financially, you've got to have a different finance model for this aircraft. Insurance wise, you've got to have a different. You've got to do things different, because doing anything as per the norm is going straight back into the trap of 50 years of mindset.
Just how do people, obviously, thank you for being on the show.
No,
thank
you
you for
guys.
talking to us and being open. I think
keen to do more.
Yeah,
Let's not
100%.
keep it as the only one.
And I think with Jason being so open and with the AMAs and all of that, I mean, it's a fantastic lesson in leadership, in my opinion.
100%.
And I think that's what people have invested in, his communication skills, his team's communication skills, bringing Mishka and these guys on board. If they want to know anything more about Hills, and as number 10 on the ownership list, and obviously you party to all the AMAs, and I see it's on YouTube and everything.
Yeah.
How do they find out more if they want to speak to you?
So,
what's your involvement in Southern Africa?
So, I mean, the best thing to do, whether you're an owner or not, or can afford it or can't, doesn't matter what your situation is like, just follow the YouTube. I've learned a hell of a lot from an engineering point of view, from a business finance, watching the program unfold. And just, people have taken an interest that I never thought would ever be interested in helicopters, just because of the journey. So I'll check out their YouTube and their Instagram. They put a lot of stuff on there. The AMAs are monthly, where anyone can register. You can ask any questions. That's pretty open and transparent. Where do I fit in? I kind of, on my journey to this, I had the vision of like the flyaways I want to do, and long distance flying, and getting people out here to experience Southern Africa. As I was going down the journey, and I was like, you know what, let me start a WhatsApp group, because it will only be a matter of time till other people come on, and I want to help other people that are first time aircraft owners. I want to educate them, on how the industry works, what to expect. So that's, I've kind of, I wouldn't say formalized that, but that WhatsApp group is just all the owners in Southern Africa.
That's where it starts, yeah.
It's where it starts, and we will evolve it as it goes. And I've got some epic plans for flyaways, and I just want this community
to grow.
To grow. That's my goal, and as things pop up, and, go to Nampo, when the guys come down here, bring them down to the Transkei for a flyaway. We go to the Berg, the stock standard, go up to the Bush, through to, and a lot of flyaways are cross-border.
Yeah.
The amount of guys that have comms that haven't even been cross-border is pretty
crazy.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy. I was fortunate when I did my comm, myself and Buzz and my dad, myself and Jacques and my dad, we did Zim, Zambia, Caprivi Strip, Namibia, Botswana. We did like 80-something hours in 3 weeks. And that was amazing to learn all of that, So, yeah, you can either reach out to me. I'll put my email, or
put your details down.
Give you details. And I can further elaborate on like what my plans are on the community I want to build. And I want to get wives and kids involved in it, because I think a lot of the time when aircraft owners say to the wife, "Oh, we're going for a flyaway for the week in the Berg," and the wives don't really have interest in flying, like I want people's wives to do participation in it, do the housewife course, get solo and just do your air law exam. So touch wood, anything happens, you can hover an aircraft, you can land it. Yeah. Or if through that process the bug bites a bit more and you're like, oh, let me
carry on.
Let me give this a go. But I think by forcing it onto someone, it's very heels in the sand, So I'd like it to be that, when you say in the house, oh, there's a hill flyaway, kids are stoked, wife's stoked. And then, we'll probably have a little show face at Nampo. And I just want people to see the product and appreciate it for what it is, you know.
That'll be great. I mean, we will we'll continue to follow the journey, especially with podcasts and stuff.
We'll probably
do
some updates on it.
We'll do some updates, and we'll follow the journey closely. And I look forward to it. But thanks for your time and appreciate it. And
thank you guys.
Stay in contact with us on your journeys and what you're doing.
100%. Send a few photos around.
That'll be great. And we'll share your details on the podcast. Screen. And I think also we've got, I know we've got some flyaway planned to the Berg one of these days. We'll be in the Robertson because it's in the air already.
Yeah.
I got my Robertson 66 shirt on today. But let's see, when the Hills journey is in the air, we'll eventually, hopefully, have the podcast on that event.
Definitely. Maybe we set up the Starlink and do a podcast at the top of Cathedral Peak.
We look forward to it. Yeah. And I think our future podcasts we've planned out. We've got women in aviation. We've got military aviation. We've got some really interesting characters from our South African military and aviation.
Yeah, we put the word out there, and we've been getting calls from our last podcast. I must say, our followers have grown.
Awesome. So where are you guys up to at the moment?
We can't tell you.
I hope I make the double digits.
I think with this one is going to double up. But yeah, no, we thank all the people that are starting to follow us. It's not subscribe on Spotify; it's follow. But as soon as we're on YouTube, we'll get followers as well. But
watch out, world.
Yeah, watch out.
We come here now.
We'll start. Yeah. Okay, but thanks, guys, for that. And
thank you.
We'll put this out in the next day or so, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Thanks you, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Bye.